All right, yeah, so this thing says live in the corner now. I'm not sure the other one did that. So looks
Yes,
like we're rolling. Hello, YouTube.
hello everybody. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Luke. I can hear you.
Great, perfect. Yeah, I have no idea why the other one wouldn't want to do this. If someone works at Google, give me their contact so I can one day understand how this Hangout Live works. It's the second time that happens to me.
Melu, our other ambassador here in São Paulo, works at Google, so
okay, yeah, give me his name so I can understand how Google Hangout. Well, yeah, I shouldn't complain. It's free. All right. I think we have almost everybody. People can watch on YouTube. I've shared that online. We'll continue on updating all the links. Maybe Michael, do you want to start? Give a quick introduction as to what the town hall is about, while I update everybody on the links to actually go to, and then we can get started with all the different projects.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we wanted to convene this is, as many of you know, we do bi-weekly board meetings that are open for anyone's participation. But largely they just reflect, sort of the ongoing business of Sandbox, what Luke, Jillian, and I have been kind of working on over the past few weeks. And there hasn't been an opportunity to really check in and reflect, sort of everything that's going on, to showcase all the different efforts. Get everyone up to speed and give them a single point and opportunity to do that. Another thing that is personally very important to me is that Sandbox has always been a sort of co-created community, one where it works only through the shared efforts and contributions of individual members. And we want to make sure that we're able to kind of showcase and show off all the great work that people are doing, and also make it clear how others can get involved and encourage them to do so. So what we are brought here to do today is to begin that conversation, to very practically get an update on all the different things that are going on and where there are opportunities to contribute, but also, to share more broadly a message that that there are opportunities to get involved. There are always new things that can be done, and new things that we can create together as a group. And that, this hopefully won't be the last town hall that will have additional discussions and convenings, especially in the run-up to the Global Summit. And so this is an opportunity to start thinking about that as well. We have a lot of different projects going on, and a number of individuals that have volunteered their time to contribute to that and also share what they're up to today. And I think, it's the start of a lot of new initiatives, and hopefully there'll be more coming in the future. I'm also interested, Luke, if you have any additional thoughts on that you want to share.
No, definitely, it's something we'd like to do more often, for sure. The bi-weekly board meetings have been something that we've received a lot of positive feedback on. People seem to be really happy that we give this update about what we've been doing, but now we'd also like to give more visibility, as Michael said, on all those initiatives that are run by members. It's really, our community is member led. It's not led by the board. The initiatives are really the work and sweat of all the members. So giving more visibility to all those initiatives to us is really something extremely important.
Yeah, and just to extend that maybe a little bit, because I think those are good points, and kind of put it into a broader context. When this board was elected, we sort of started with a promise of transparency and openness, to expose everything that was going on to the community, to share everything, to have open board meetings, open communication channels, and to invite the community in to say, we are just members like anyone else, and we're trying to advance the cause of Sandbox, to continue to grow and develop the community, but principally this is something that we're all working on together. We've done our best to always be open and transparent, to continue to hold, I think, something like over 20 now individual open board meetings that are all recorded, that anyone can go watch at any time and anyone can contribute when they happen. And the second pillar to that has been to try to create a flatter community, to say this is a community that we all own, and it's not for the board to do things any more than anyone else. And so as we've had questions, as we've had opportunities, it's always been our collective impulse to say, yes, there's something that needs to get done, but let's bring together members of the community and let's create a space for all of us to collaborate on it openly and allow anyone to participate, and that will be the way forward. And there have been upsides and downsides to that. At times that's meant things have gone much more slowly. It's been more difficult to coordinate. Sometimes projects have felt as though they've lacked direction as they've tried to generate that direction in a self-directed way. But ultimately, we feel like this is the only way forward for the community, a community that everyone is an equal participant in, where the underlying structure is one that's flat, and there's an opportunity for everyone's participation at any moment. So we see this as kind of the next step in that, following on our sort of history of openness and transparency, having open calls to participate, and now doing a better job of kind of showing and sharing with the community what those things are to generate additional involvement and start to try to spread these initial acts of co-creation and collaboration, and get even more people engaged in these questions. So unless anyone has any questions on that, and I definitely welcome any feedback. I know Pierre is tight on time, so I would start to turn it over to him, unless anyone wants to jump in on that. Cool. Pierre, do you want to open up? Pierre, just to set you up, you've, I know, been working on an amazing event that I think I'm super excited about as a satellite first day kind of event in Nairobi before the Global Summit, an attempt to generate a little more Sandbox impact and also a learning opportunity for Sandbox as a connection to the local community there. I'm really excited for it. I will be there and supporting you however I can, and I'll turn it over to you to give any more details on it. I think you're
1 2 1 2. Can you listen? Okay, thanks Mike and Luke for organizing this town hall, and thanks Mike for this introduction. So my name is Pierre Taman. I'm like French Vietnamese based in Paris, member to the Paris Hub. And so I have the pleasure to lead the curation and organization of this Sandbox Global Summit side event, which will be held on Tuesday, October 2nd, so one day prior to the beginning of the Global Summit main event. And hold on, sorry, I just got. Yeah, and so it's a one-day conversation series that will be last from like 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. It will be like 6 conversations of 1 hour on different topics that at the intersection of tech, culture, and activism. And I mean, I will share you more info about the conversation themselves like pretty soon. If you attended the Facebook event, you will be noticed. But I just want to keep it short and just put a bit of context for you guys, and because of the time constraint I have right now. So basically, how come? So this event will be organized in a co-working space in Nairobi. We still need to confirm with the venue this week. Hopefully, it will be confirmed as soon as possible. But the idea is really to connect with the young talents from different ecosystems, like in students, journalism, tech, arts, activism. So how come we come up with this idea and event? To give you a brief history of it. So we all have, like, if I understand, like one of the main reasons we're going to Kenya this year at the Global Summit is because like Brenda, the Kenya, so Nairobi-based ambassador, complained about her isolation and the fact that our community is too centric to in the Western side, and so we kind of like miss a lot of opportunities to connect with other hubs outside of Europe and North America. So last year she struggled and she couldn't actually attend the summit in Croatia because Croatia and Kenya don't have like diplomatic relationships. So she kind of like shared her frustration to the board, and so we come up to that. Let's go to Kenya, and but so we come up to decide to have this event in the global summit in Kenya, and we like realized that you know, the structure and even like how the, you know, the global summit is designed today is at some point missing, to me, I mean, an important point, which is actually connecting with local like the local people, local talents that could be actually prospects for our community, which is quite, you know, at some part exclusive in the jungle, 2 hours from Mombasa, and so I'll say it's frustrated because we have a lot of talents, a lot of bright minds, like 150 to 100 people from the Sandbox community coming and say, well, how can we actually, you know, contribute in some ways without patronizing the local people, but just, you know, engage and just, you know, share our knowledge or visions or initiatives. And so we found out that, you know, the most efficient and simplest way to actually engage with people without having this, you know, Western white savior complex is actually creating some horizontal conversations. By horizontal, I mean, you know, conversations when we have equal part of, you know, sandboxes and Kenyans. So this is how actually we come up with this idea of touching, you know, different subjects on global trends, intercultural dynamics, and power relationship, and having no taboo discussion on, you know, women in tech, on human migrations, on the blockchain impact in the emerging countries, and such a like conversation like that. And so this is how we come up with this one-day event before the summit, because, you know, one of the important message that we should have, I think, when we do this event in Kenya, is not saying, okay, wow, we did that, we made it to Africa, and I'm just afraid that maybe unconsciously or somehow, you know, some people might think that way, and it shouldn't be the way, you know, of approaching such a for many of us, it will be the first time in this continent, in some country outside of the Western world, and for, you know, I see this side event as a way, you know, to get humble, to get educated a bit more about what's going on outside our own, you know, Western bubble. And so that's how, you know, we decided to organize, and this event is also a way for us to keep, you know, having this important conversation on diversity, you know, and if we put in a less political correctness word, is about also decolonizing our own, you know, vision as Westerners about, you know, how we can perceive and how we can actually increase, you know, new talents from different areas, and we hope, you know, this event will be an opportunity to actually connect with, you know, prospects and Kenyan talents, and at least, you know, connecting with, you know, sort of like upper middle class from Nairobi. It's also, you know, a good first step to keep, you know, in this open and inclusive process of for our community. So this event is, yeah, it's going to be mostly conversations, and we have like a sort of a lunch break from 12 to 4, and then sort of a after 7 to 9:30 p.m. Chilling session, and it will be, you know, opportunity to actually really create first connections with some local artists, students, professors, and then hopefully, this could lead to some what we can call a long-term co-creation, like long-term share value co-creation at some point. So on the more, so this is more about the philosophy and the whole context. Hope it was clear for you guys. And on the more like practical side, so far since it's like 6 conversation, more or less 4 or 5 speakers, and we have Q&A with the audience, but so half sandboxes, half Kenyans, and so far we have something like, we try to gather like something like 24, 25 speakers, and I think we have 75% of the speakers confirmed so far, and so quite positive. Like we have like positive reply from both sides, and that's quite encouraging at some point. Still need to confirm some few, I might share some maybe some people on Facebook group, or if there's still I still can't find one or two speakers I need. And yeah, I mean, we're going to the more practical phase of logistics and communication, because we really want to spread out this event, either on the Kenyan side, and reaching university students, and so I have the chance to work with that with Mario from the Lisbon Hub. He volunteered to help me on this aspect, like targeting some media, some communities, and make this event most heard as possible, because the goal is also to really dope the Nairobi hub attractiveness, and asking for the community, for the Sandbox members who coming to Kenya to actually contribute in that regard. And yeah, and so communication, logistics, we still need to confirm the venue and some stuff. So in terms of needs, it's more about counting on your presence. I think it will mean a lot, that you guys could, if you can, spend some time this day before the global summit, and just talk with, just listen, talk, and exchange with the people would be great. Maybe sharing about it, because we intend to also record the conversations to make it accessible on live, and some people can actually, even amongst the Sandbox community, to hear about it. And yeah, and I think I covered more or less the thing, and hopefully the fact that we're doing that before the global summit is also important, because we hope that this could also generate some conversations in the global summit, and because this experience is really different than the experience that we have at the global summit, but doesn't prevent ourselves to keep having this conversation on diversity, on how to approach emerging countries, how to actually also educate ourselves on those. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this conversation will be able to actually last those in Cliffy. And yeah, so I think I cover most of it. In terms of communication, if you attend the Facebook event, we'll share the updates. I hope in at the end of August, beginning of September, I'll be able to actually disclose the conversation, the speakers, and the venue, of course. And so there will be an Eventbrite, and so we planned on having a sort of quota of Sandboxes and Kenyan to have actually this, we aim at having 50% of the audience will be Sandboxes, and 50% of them will be Kenyans. And so we aim at something like 100 people for a first event. We want to keep it simple and short, and hopefully if it's working, if it's successful, maybe this is something that we can think of replicating over the next years for the next global summit. All right, I think I'm done. But I just one last thing. I want to just credit the support of of the board, of the global summit staff. As a French, I'm good at complaining and criticizing, but when credit is due, I think it's important to mention it. And I know it's this thing on diversity, on decentralized or self, decolonizing or collective Western vision is something that is a lot of work, and it's something that we still need to work on. But hopefully this project will help to actually keep this conversation and help us diversify our members. Bring something positive to our community. So yeah,
Yes.
and
I'll just relay a few comments from YouTube. Ria is really excited to be participating as a moderator and panelist on the October 2nd event in Nairobi, and she's thanking you again for this great opportunity and for all your work. Netra as well is congratulating you, thanking you for your work. As as treasurer, I would be remiss if I didn't ask if how you're doing on the finances. Do you actually need maybe some donations to finance a couple of things, or are you all set on this?
Well, that's that's a good question. So far, in terms of cost, so we haven't checked so far the food and beverage, which is something that Mario, who designed the budget, was included. So I think this is something that we'll need to figure out over the next weeks. I just have, I think so far, some two guest speakers from Kenya were asking if we can actually cover the fees for probably the taxi in Nairobi,
okay,
trip, something like that. And I think one of the speakers were actually planning on the Sandbox side. We're actually planning on going to Mombasa first. So he was just asking, but not forcing, but just asking if he can actually be covered for if there is need to actually do a round trip, Mombasa, Nairobi, because for one of the conversations he could add something. So I say I'm going to ask to you, so I'm asking now, but we can follow up on emails or whatever. But just to let you know, otherwise I was asking him maybe he can, if we can't provide this, at least he can share a video of his experience and we can actually disclose it at the conversation. At least this is something we can do. So I didn't say no, I didn't say yes, but now you know.
So in general, Sandbox has real little money to spare, but if we can maybe ask for donations from members, that would be great. Yeah. Covering for taxis for speakers, it makes sense. For an attendee, that's a bit more difficult. Even though if there are a couple generous members who would like to help, now's the time to voice it. Yeah.
Anyway, the Sandboxer who asked for it, he was invited to speak at the.
Okay. So yeah, first let's see if we can get some members to contribute, and Sandbox, it will really depend on what finances we still have after the global summit, because we have to cover our risks of with the global summit. So definitely, if there are some members that would like to contribute for drinks, covering some costs for speakers, it would be nice. Get in touch with Pierre. Or if you have time or anything else you want to contribute, definitely get in touch with Pierre. Yeah,
and probably maybe if some people are coming in advance, maybe I'm not sure yet, but maybe we'll need some little hands, for the logistics. But it won't be something super harassing. But just the more we are, the best.
Right.
So thank you for your time, guys. Truly appreciate. And I have to go now, but I wish you. The best for your upcoming projects, and for those who are coming to Kenya, can't wait to meet you all.
Thank you, Pierre.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Thanks so much, Pierre. I feel very lucky to have this type of effort as well, and I just want to say I think it's also situated in a broader context and conversation about how Sandbox can truly become a global community that reflects and respects all localities, is inclusive of all of that, and does it from a neutral global context. I think that's an enormous ambition, but this is like an incredible start to that conversation. And so I'm super excited about the event, and I also think we should try to take the lessons more broadly and say, how can we continue to grow into a model that reflects these sensitivities? So I feel really grateful that we have your voice as part of this and bring your attention to it. And see this as an enormous opportunity for the community to grow. Cool, thank you. So it sounded like Aaron as well was a little time constrained. So do we want to turn over to you?
Hey, yeah, that would be awesome. Yes, so I've been doing a lot of work on community and also community for Global Summit. Rafa, I have like 40 minutes. Do you want to go first? I can stay on for 40 more minutes, so.
Yeah, I might have to go earlier.
Okay, why don't you go first and then I'll go.
That sounds good, because I think mine is short as well. Hello, everyone. I'm Rafael from the São Paulo Hub. And one of the initiatives that I've been working on is the frequently asked questions for the community itself. I believe a lot of people, especially new members, and I think even members that have been in the community for longer, have questions about, how the organization is structured and how a lot of the different resources can be found. And so I think we decided that it would be good to have a place where people could go and find answers to the questions that are more common among the community. And so JJ from Canada and Yvonne from San Francisco have been helping, and we have been doing a lot of great work together. We received and we asked the community for questions, and we received a lot of questions, and we have developed the answers to all of them already, but we do have some questions that I think maybe only the people from the board or maybe some senior members of the community might answer better. And so we're doing a final review now, and we're planning on sending it to the board tomorrow so that they could help us, find those less details. And that one is not going to be put in place, for the outside world. It will be just for our community. But I think based on the internal, FAQ, we can develop an external FAQ. I'm doing the recruitment. We are doing the recruitment for the new class here in São Paulo. And one of the things I also find kind of hard is to explain better, what Sandbox is. And I think having an FAQ placed on our website would increase, it would help people understand, what Sandbox is, how it works. It becomes very hard to try to explain everything to everyone every time. It would be nice to link to a place where people could find a lot of the answers before, and we could engage with them, talking about other things since they already have some background on the organization. So we are on the final stretch of the internal FAQ. I don't know yet if JJ and Yvonne will want to continue for the external one, but it is something that I want to do. And along with that, I think another initiative that would be cool for us to have, there was something in the very old Central Way Sandbox website, which was called Meet a Sandboxer. And it's actually the reason I became a Sandboxer, because I found, a profile of Yuri Molina on that Sandbox website, and I looked at a lot of different profiles, and I saw all these amazing people, and that kind of made me interested in joining, and made me interested in the Lisbon Summit, and made me want to go and be a guest. And I think that's something else that we're missing, showcasing our members on our website, having profiles, having them answer questions about their lives, about their projects, their dreams, their fears. And so that's something else that I think would be fun to work on. And I guess one last thing, I don't know if there have been conversations about the Global Summit of next year, but I think it would be fun to have something in South America. I'm not saying São Paulo. I don't know if we're probably going to have conversations, and there are going to be other places that, will maybe, make proposals. But I think it would be fun doing something either São Paulo or Recife or Buenos Aires, Bogota. We have a lot of different options, and I don't think we've had a major event in South America. We did have Panama in Central America, but it would be nice to have something. So I'm just planting the seed of South America Global Summit 2019 right now. And I think that's all my updates for now. I really like, hearing about Pierre. Just to comment also on, what this event is about, the town hall and the work that has been done is about community engagement first, sorting out, the governance and structure later. I think we can do a lot, without governance. I think it is true that there are a lot of things that we can do at the moment, and we should focus on that. Eventually, I think the governance and structure is a conversation we need to have, but I am with you guys about, community engagement first, and let's try to do projects with what we have right now. I think it will be a good way to go. All right. Thank you for your time.
Great, Raf. Thank you very much. I'll just add one thing on your mention. I mean, what you were talking about, the Discover or Meet a Sandboxer initiative. Mentor, who's in charge of the website, who's leading the effort, on the website, has created this database of members, which I know a lot of people don't even know exist. So maybe that's one place to start with. I know Danny, who was with us at least, but who's in Paris, is interested in participating in reviving something of the sort, kind of an effort to meet to discover members. So maybe I can put you in touch with Danny, and if anybody's interested in spending some time on this, I really think it's something that we need to do, is have a clean list of members with some data, some information about them, like what are they interested in, how you can contact them, and all this. Oh, and Danny is on YouTube, so I'll introduce you, Raf.
Yeah, sounds good. I actually don't like that member database that much. I feel that, I think it shouldn't be there. I think we can do better. I think it is nice to have a list of members for people to see from the outside, but I think we can do a different version. I think Mentor has done, so much great work for the website, but I think that's one thing that we should discuss, and I think we can maybe come up with a different solution. But yeah, put me in touch, and that's something I'm interested as well. I think, going through the recruitment process, there are a lot of things that, spring to mind that I think, oh, this could help. So it has been a very enriching process, the recruitment towards, how the community is set up, for people who don't know us to see us.
Yeah. So Danny, once again, there's another comment on YouTube. He's really interested. So I'll definitely put you two in touch, and I hope you can improve on what Mentor has started, for sure.
All right. Sounds great. Right. Thanks.
Thank you, Raf. I don't know if, Michael, you want to do it again, or if we should go directly to Aaron. Aaron, I think you're presenting first the effort you've started in the last few weeks, or more than a month actually, of trying to revive get some more community engagement going on. Maybe you want to start with this and then go for the other initiatives that you're working on, because I know you're working on several things within Sandbox. We have the power members of Sandbox.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I think it was roughly 2 months ago I started working on initiatives to improve the community engagement within the online Facebook group. That's been a little bit slower than expected because I jumped in to support the Summit team with their comms and community work. But overall, the goal with the work started 2 months ago is that we want to really improve the community engagement in 2 ways. One, promoting this culture of co-creation, and two, really reducing reducing the very transactional nature that we find in some of our engagements, in the Facebook group itself. Finding ways to rephrase and communicate with each other that focus more on like sharing about ourselves, what makes life meaningful for us, how we can all support each other in our personal growth and our work, without asking things like, hey, get me an introduction to this company, point blank. I think there was a really good Facebook post by Sonia about communication. I'd encourage everyone to look at the Facebook group. I can link to that later. She had some really interesting points. It was really great to see her and other community members stepping up to try to improve that. In terms of work done so far, we started an initiative called This Week in Sandbox Global, where I would summarize the Facebook posts. Some of you may have noticed this haven't happened in the last couple of weeks. That's because it's pretty resource intensive. I think moving forward, we either need some more support on the community engagement side, at least until, we need more hands on community engagement to get some of these initiatives moving forward, as well as re-looking at This Week at Sandbox Global to see if there's a less intensive way to do that. It would usually take me 1 to 2 hours. It wasn't hard work, but you have to scroll through all the posts, tag people, etc. Facebook's UI is great, so you often lose some of the comments. and work you do. Other than that, we tried some Facebook posts. That was hit or miss. I think it's still really difficult to get traction in Facebook posts, given there's just so much in the activity feed. And that's the summary for now. I'd really love to do more work on the community side. If anyone's interested in that and supporting me in that, I think there's a lot we can do. And I think a lot of people have better ideas than I do. And I would love support on that. Just looking, one other thing that is an interesting idea we could start testing out probably after the summit is this idea of a community navigator program. This was, I think Michael and a bunch of people came up with this idea a few months ago about having core members of Sandbox, like we have ambassadors who manage hubs. We could have core members of Sandbox really responsible for being the community, people in the community who look out for other members in the community, try to make connections when they see, you know, let's say a request for help. That's something interesting I think would be great to try after the summit. In terms of other work done, we updated the newsletter template. Not sure if anyone noticed. And I think Sean, who I believe is at a doctor's appointment right now and will be back shortly, I spoke with Sean and Fabian about onboarding. I think one of the most powerful things we can do to really change the community culture and build a more, build this culture of co-creation is to really get people from the beginning, understanding what it means to be in Sandbox. Right now we have a really intensive application process, and then it kind of drops. There's really no clear introduction into the Sandbox global group, which is important because we have such different and unique hubs that it's nice to have a consistent experience for everybody as they have a different individual experience in their local hubs. So Sean will give an update on that later on today, but that was some other work we did about looking into how the onboarding is right now and how we can improve that moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah. I think all of these things are like amazing ways to kind of move forward the community and advance it. Some of it I think is going to take time to really generate some traction around. And I think like you've done a Herculean effort trying to like execute on all these different things. And a lot of it also requires just like more support and more involvement. And I think in general, areas of community engagement, if people are interested in participating and getting involved, there's probably an endless list of things that we can do to kind of help generate and cohere the community, to surface all of the goodness that's there. I think most of people experience Sandbox, the value of Sandbox through the community, obviously, and just through what seems like its organic nature. And while it is the case, of course, that members connect all the time, they sort of in a self-regulated and organic way find ways to discover and uncover each other, that it's really just scratching the surface of all of the possibilities, all of the opportunities, all of the expertise and knowledge that exists within the community, and having a little more structure about how we share the message of that, how we discuss things ourselves, how we present ourselves, can be really transformative in opening that up and making us feel even more like a connected family. So I think this work goes to the heart of what it means to be a distributed digital international community where we don't always see each other face to face all the time, but we want to feel connected. And I'm sure there are other ideas. So if anyone has an idea, reach out to the board, reach out to Aaron, reach out to any of us, and let's get a conversation started and see what else we can do, because I think sky's the limit, and it really brings out so much of the value of the community. So again, I personally really thank you. I've enjoyed the summaries and have been excited about the updated template. So I feel like I get a lot out of it as someone who can't always keep up with the whole stream of things, despite my best efforts. So yeah, maybe that evolves, and maybe we focus our efforts in one place versus another. But I think it's exciting to see some of these experiments happen, and can only help grow the community.
Thanks. And then I'm going to hop off and join the YouTube link. Is there anyone on YouTube right now who needs to join because they want to give an update? Because we're capped at 10 people. So I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more people can join right now, the Google Hangout link.
Cool. All right. Next up, did we want to jump? I don't know if anyone's time constrained. Feel free to drop a note in the chat, and we can move over to you. Otherwise, maybe I'm looking at Benjamin's beautiful face right now, so maybe I can turn it over to you to discuss the community council. Let me just kind of tee that up a little bit for some context. This is a project that's been very important, but a little lower visibility because of the sensitivity of it and the experimental nature. We've always tried forward anything in the community as an open opportunity for anyone to participate, and published it, although sometimes not everyone sees these notices in the stream of things. The Community Council is an effort to create a way for us to kind of facilitate resolution of conflicts or questions between individual members, and find a way to do it that's not the board making any decision, but a real community organic approach. It's been experimental. It's been an open question how we best do that in a way that reflects the pure nature of the community, where we're all kind of in this together, but we still sometimes need to come together to resolve issues or questions. And I think what we've done is had an initial pass at this, and then going forward, there'll be additional news and public posts about kind of the second iteration of this and how anyone can get involved. I see it as a really key and essential piece of the community, something that's been really missing, because of course we need to feel safe, we need to feel comfortable, and we need to have places to resolve conflicts, or at least even be aware of them. So I'm really grateful for the effort that's gone into the Community Council to date. And, Benjamin, you've been a huge piece of that in making sure that comes together. And I'll turn it over to you to share whatever you think is relevant, lessons, learnings, and an update so far.
So, hi, everyone. This whole process started last year when the Mexico City hub had some developments. There was a post that kind of blew up on the Sandbox group because of basically a few members were basically kicked out of the hub. So it was a sensitive topic that at the time there was a question in the ambassadors group how we would solve this, and a community council was suggested to be formed. So it was formed. I wasn't in it at start because I wasn't an ambassador. So I jumped in a little bit late. And when I jumped in, it was a little bit stagnant. And that's, to be fair, most of the life of this community council has been, because the event that started this all off was a year ago already. And since I joined, the energy in it has been mostly low. So it's been now, it reawakened, I guess, whatever, very recently, because there was one more member joining. So the two people who have with me been active in this process at all in these last months now have been Alexandros and Konstantina. And what this has created is a situation of we're just trying to understand how to best solve this, and basically what's come up as the main way to work on this. So our main finding is we want to create a facilitated process that will allow for reconciliation in the Mexico City hub, because everything that happened had reasons to happen how it happened, and it might not have been the best process, but we can't revert any process that has already been passed. So more than anything, it's about reconciliating and understanding how the Mexico City hub can go forward, with the situation in mind that the members who are not now considered members of the hub are still Sandbox members. So in many ways, there's no reasons for them not to be a part of the hub if they're part of Sandbox, since really mainly all members should have access to all hubs. So that becomes a sensitive issue in terms of what has happened, how do we take it forward, is it even possible to take forward with those members, and all that are questions that are trying to be answered. And we are investigating right now how to create that facilitated process in the Mexico City hub in a way that it doesn't become an imposition, but really a facilitated process to understand how what is the way forward. Because in the end, anything that, this is my personal opinion now more, but I think that the other two members of the community council have also felt this, is that if we just impose, there's no real solution, because Sandbox, while there's an HQ, is really created by its hubs. So if there's a situation that creates such a big disruption in a hub that the hub just stops being a hub, there's no point to it, because is it better for a hub to be working with some issues but being alive, and like the Mexico City hub has had activity in the last year? Or on the other hand, is it better to have a hub that doesn't have issues but also isn't a hub? And that's where, if those are the two options, which within position I feel become the two options, it's an issue. And that's where it really becomes a question of, we don't want to impose anything as a community council. And also we've told the trustees that we don't want to recommend something that creates a clear punishment or anything, because it's not about punishing anyone here. So it's a conundrum that we're working on bit by bit. And so originally the fragility for me of this whole process comes also with, I don't think anyone felt this process would take this long. And I don't think anyone felt this process would be so intricate in the way that's why it was suggested towards ambassadors at the time, I guess. And with the three people who have taken it forward, it's been a situation where there was a few breaks of actual months in the meantime. So with the second iteration of this, which I hope will happen after this whole process ends at the very latest, it really would be a situation that's open to the whole community, and it becomes led by members who fully want to be involved, and not only ambassadors who, apart from already having busy lives as all Sandboxers do, are also ambassadors of a hub, so even busier. So there's that fragility, which will be repaired next time around. But for now, we're still working on this current conundrum in the most caring way possible to all members involved.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a challenge to get this right. And I think it will continue to be an ongoing conversation for us as a community broadly. And I think, again, it comes to the heart of what it means to feel like Sandbox. Often we discuss as a family, as a place where we feel safe and trusted. And I think we need to find ways to live up to that. And there's a huge opportunity to continue to evolve, co-create, to invent, to innovate about what this means. The fundamental question is, as a community of peers, as a large global international family, what does it mean to solve problems or issues that come up? How do we do that? How do we talk to each other? And I really commend the three of you and the rest of the group that's participated by taking a sort of equanimous tone, by approaching the question in an empathetic and sincere way, trying to see and hear both sides, and try to move forward in a positive way that helps the community grow, that helps the community learn from itself and its past, and doesn't make anyone feel put out or judged in the process. It's really hard to do that, in any situation where there's a conflict, and it is an explorative process that has unfolded for us. But I think if anyone is interested in these questions broadly, in the questions of how we solve this, if anyone has experience with sort of conflict resolution and inclusion and helping us set up this structure, let's start a broader conversation about it over the next coming months. I think it's also would be really great to have something like this in place for the Global Summit, to also increase the sense of safety and make people feel good about participating. But I feel like, again, this is the kind of thing that can take a while to get right. But what matters is that we're sincerely engaged in the question and continue to think through what answers might look like. And to date, I think we've been guided by some really awesome instincts from you, Ben, and the rest of the team. And, it will continue to grow and evolve, and we'll see what comes of it. But it's the kind of thing that as we move forward, we'll want as many voices kind of thinking about what the right structure for this looks like. And we're going to have some additional announcements on kind of opening up this up and generating a conversation around it that will be happening in the coming weeks. So yeah, I think it's been a learning process for sure so far. Cool. If anyone has any additional thoughts on that, let me know. Otherwise, we can turn it over to the next person. It looks like Thomas is kind of popping in and out.
I guess I would just add one thing for the community council, which is that, as Ben mentioned, I do agree that we should allow non-ambassadors to participate in this effort. And so I'm not quite sure how we can make an announcement about this, but if you are interested in joining the effort, not really on the matter at hand, but on future developments for the community council, definitely get in touch with either someone from the board or someone from the community council, such as Ben. Because there will be other issues like this. Unfortunately, I mean, in any community, there's always issues that arise, no matter how thoughtful we are, and we'll need a solid process for this. So, if we can get some volunteers, ambassadors or not, brand new members or old alumni of Sandbox, please get in touch with either the board or Ben.
Agreed. Well said. Cool. Thomas, you want to give us an update on where we are with the summit and anything else on your mind, if you've whatever you have to share.
Well, yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm at the airport. Well, from our hub, it was a very interesting process to find a name. There was like a really month-long discussion, a very inclusive discussion going on, lots of votes, lots of inputs by people, and lots of different proposals, and we finally settled on a name. And then there was some very strong opposition from someone, and then there was a very vicious discussion on Facebook that really was not constructive, was very acrimonious. But anyhow, out of that, a new name-finding process emerged, and we finally settled on a name that everyone was happy with. So that's really great. And in the end, I think it was a really good process.
Just to be clear, we're talking about the Nomad Hub rebranding into Elsewhere. Huh?
Elsewhere, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Elsewhere Hub. Yeah, and Summit. So my role there is the finance lead. So I'm not on top when it comes to what's going on with the experience design and so on. It's been really a lot of fun for me to join this team in this capacity, and a lot of experimentation and learning, and a lot of challenges also. And one of the challenges is that, well, for me, as the finance person in this, in my role, is that right now we're facing a pretty tight budget, because I think Kenya is just really far away, and because there was 320 people in Croatia, we were thinking, we'll get at least 200 tickets sold for Kenya, and so far we're like 40 tickets short of that, and that's causing us to really crunch our numbers now, and that's actually really tough for the team, because the way it looks right now, the team is not going to have their flights covered. I mean, not to speak of getting anything paid, and not even the flights are going to be covered. So that's, I think that's a bit of a disappointment for the team. I mean, we knew that this could happen, but nobody thought it would happen, and so.
Thomas, do you want to give us exact numbers? Basically, the projections were 200 participants. Right now, we have 160 tickets sold.
Well, no, we have 100, something like 120 tickets sold, and then we have 20 scholarship applicants or participants, and something like 15 half scholarship participants and 13 team. So in total, we're at about something like 160 participants right now. And we made our projections for 200 participants at the minimum baseline. So we would have to sell another 40 tickets to hit the minimum baseline, which would cover at least the tickets of the team.
All right. So at the moment, there's I mean, to me, there's two issues. It's one, are we going to be able to give as many scholarships as there have been requests? And then the second thing is that we are still 3 weeks before the deadline. Ticket sale ends on the 15th of September.
Yeah.
So we still have 3 weeks to sell another 30 to 40 tickets to be comfortable with finances, being able to give scholarships to everybody and everything.
Well, see, the scholarships are funded separately. The community has been very generous in chipping in for scholarships. So some people, they purchased patron tickets where they fund the full scholarship. Many others, 50% of the people attending chipped in £40. So that's like $55 to fund scholarships. And so we're actually able to fund all of the scholarships through the specifically scholarship allocated money. And we can't misappropriate that, right? So if people gave us money for scholarships, then that's what it's for, right? And we are in that regard, you know, we can fund the whatever 20 or 18 scholarships from that money.
Okay.
And the half scholarships, we decided to charge them the variable cost price. So whether they come or not doesn't impact our budget, right?
Okay.
So really, what we need now. I mean, we're in. I sent you all the numbers, right? So I made a really worst case scenario projection. If we sell only another 14 tickets, then at least we're at if nobody gets their flights paid, and we're really like cutting the budget wherever it's possible, and we don't want to cut on the experience or anything, right? Because that's that's the last place where we want to cut. So then, if we sell another 14 tickets, then at least we're at zero. But if we would sell another 40 tickets, then at least the tickets of the team are also covered, and I think that'd be great. And I hope that we can sell another 40 tickets. Yeah.
So I guess what the Global Summit needs right now is everybody to reach out to your fellow members and guests, and need to sell another, let's say, 20 tickets at least to have the full. Or no, we say 14 tickets to get the full on experience. So
yeah,
get in touch, invite people.
That'd be great.
But otherwise,
it's gonna be awesome, guys. I mean, come on, we're going to Kenya. Are you kidding me? It's like gonna be amazing. And I actually grew up there a little bit. I spent a year and a half of my early childhood in the Giriyama region, which is like 10 kilometers. Like, actually, I mean, Kilifi is in the Giriyama region, and I spent a year and a half of my childhood 10 kilometers from Kilifi. So I'm super excited. And that's actually the reason why I decided, I can't miss this. And I knew I couldn't afford to go there. So that's why I joined the team. It's a bit of a tough situation for me also, because, I already bought my flight and everything. And but hey, that's just how it is, right?
I'm sure 3 weeks we can definitely make it. So I think we'll make it. All right, great. Do you have anything that you would? Do you need any other help or any other topic you'd like to discuss about the Global Summit? Oops, I think we've lost Thomas. All right. Well, anyhow, this is the third year that the Global Summit is taking place. Organizing in Kenya, in Africa, has been, from what I followed from afar. I'm not part of the organization organization team. But organizing in Kenya has proven probably the biggest challenge compared to the previous 2 years. But they're doing a great job. Financially, as a treasurer, I get a visibility on their finances, and I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to pay the tickets for all the team. It would be easier for the experience, and because we might have to cut on a couple of things on the experience if we don't. So there's definitely the Global Summit is being managed really well, and I'm quite happy to once again see the team putting yet another amazing event. Michael, who's next?
Yeah, well, I just add to that, like in addition to reaching out to Sandboxers, another source of ticket sales will be for guests, most of which haven't, as my understanding, haven't been processed yet. Is that right?
Indeed, some of it. I think we've had 50 applicants. We've processed 14 have. I have the number somewhere, but 50 guests, 14 have actually bought their tickets. So we have another 36 that might actually just buy their ticket. So once again, I'm not too worried about the finances for the Global Summit, but as usual, it's going to be a last push until the last minute.
Yeah, but coming from a place of finances or otherwise, like just the opportunity to bring together amazing people at the event, I would just encourage everyone, reach out to people that you think would be amazing to share the experience with, and encourage them to apply as a guest, because I think that was definitely, I think there were some questions about the best way to do that and the best way to incorporate guests into the experience in the event last year. But overall, I think it was enriching for both sides. And Sandbox to me has always been about a kind of openness, even though we define ourselves as a community and there are certain boundaries around that. But there's so much to create and explore with others as well. I'll also note on guests, there's not an age limit of under 30. So if there are older members that you've always wanted to get involved in Sandbox, this is a great way to do that. And in general, I think, in our extended networks, we know a lot of beautiful, inspiring spirits. And so this is a great chance to share what Sandbox has been to you with these people, and encourage them to apply and join. So that's something definitely to think about. And I also think hopefully we'll continue to grow the event and ticket sales numbers as well.
Yeah, and by the way, just a little experience from last year, if you weren't in Obonia or in Croatia, but one guest who's now a member, Yvonne, did a stand-up in front of the 300 people that were there, and I remember it was one of the most fun part of the entire retreat or Global Summit. So guests have, at least last time, we'll see how it works this time, but last time. Guests were it worked really well. The guests came in, and it was really that you didn't really have that feeling of like who's a sandboxer, who's a guest. Everybody was having fun together during the entire 4 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Some very memorable moments from our guests. Luke, did you want to? I think the main thing we have left is on we have Boxlight website, but we also have governance and legal. Maybe Wade. I thought Daniel might join, but I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, on the governance side, I think we've decided the governance or the really government side of things is going to happen after the Global Summit. I think we'd rather concentrate on experience and on member engagement until the Global Summit, and then after that we'll kick off again a discussion about governance. To me, the most important thing that should move forward is transition for the board. So we've been elected a year ago, sorry, now, and this month. And we need to prepare the next generation of gifted trustees who will take our place. What we've learned over a year is that the transition from one board to the other is a long process. We actually just finishing all the administrative process to transfer the legal entity from the previous board to the current board. It took almost a year, which was super long. So I do believe that we should prepare way ahead for this future transition. We have a couple of ideas how we could do this. But anyhow, that will be discussion I think we'll have probably starting at the Global Summit, and then of course open it up to the entire community. But once again, governance will be a bit later. Then the second topic was on the legal aspects of Sandbox. Here, as I said, we just now Michael, Jillian, and myself are now both the directors and owners of the legal entity that holds the Sandbox brand. So we've actually finished this transition. I'm the accounting for FY 2017 was completed by the previous board, and now we're just in transition. I'm working on getting a full handle on full view and full handle on the accounting. One of my promises when I joined when I was elected as trustee and as treasurer was that I would have a monthly status on the finances of the organization to bring some financial transparency to the accounts of Sandbox. And I'm fairly confident that I will be able, before the Global Summit, so sometime in September, to have a financial transparency report up till the end of August, basically. So that should start, and that should be a monthly little. It will be part, I think, of the newsletter, the monthly newsletter, and you'll have just how much money came in, how much money came out, for what reasons, and all those sorts. And you'll be able to get a visibility on what the finances of Sandbox are. Today, the main things are the Global Summit, a few expenses for admin costs and website, but really the bulk of it is the Global Summit, which is of course financed by ticket sales. But maybe later we'll be able to use some budget and to raise money for other initiatives. We'd really love to see that happening, and I think financial transparency is the first step to really allow us to use the legal entity as a financing channel. That's it for me on the legal aspects and the governance. There are plenty of discussions on this, so if you'd like to join the discussion, there's tons of things to work on, whether on the purely governance of our community or the legal aspect. How do we organize ourselves? Once again, the legal structure of Sandbox is a British company, but that kind of happened by happenstance. It wasn't really initially a well thought out process. It was something that needed to be done for a lot of practical reasons. But maybe there is another structure that would be better for us, that we could consider switching to. So if you'd like to think about either those legal aspects or the more governance, like far from the legal aspects, more like community governance, definitely get in touch with me or with Daniel Ospina, who's leading this. We'd be happy to have you.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that, like, we have had some interesting conversations, as you're saying, Luke, on even what shared ownership would look like, and different legal models and approaches, and those, I think, are conversations we need to continue to have and figure out what the right fit is. We started from a position where only one person from the previous board had ownership and access to everything, and now we're at 3, which it's a long march to 1,500, but it's at least a start, and even that piece has been sort of a challenge to figure out. So so that's very much an active conversation. And Luke, I know you've spent a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears figuring this stuff out to get us where we are today. So it's really low visibility, boring kind of work, and I really appreciate you like always pushing on that to make sure it gets done, because it has required a lot of very active effort to bring about.
Thank you.
Cool. Box of Light and website. I'm not sure if we have anyone to speak on either of those. I mean, I think either Luke, you or I can speak a bit to the website.
Oh, to website, yes, but as you wish, either you or I.
Yeah, well, I just mentioned like Mentor, I think, has done a really good job of setting up a bit of an infrastructure for that. Some of you may not know the website is open source. There's an open Git repository for it. It's open for anyone to contribute, to make edits to turn into a hacked page that that says whatever propaganda message you want. So I think, to the extent that we have visions for this, like, please join us, collaborate with us. There's tons of stuff that can be done, and not enough hands on it. But it is an open and shared project. So there's an opportunity for anyone to contribute. Luke, I think you recent updates. Did you want to talk to that?
Yeah. Recently, I actually put my hands in the dirt and built a little something, which is still being, after a couple mistakes on my end, is still being pushed to the website. But we have the bylaws now on the website. The UI is a bit weird because, of course, being the terrible developer that I am, being not a trained developer, I forgot one line of code. So I'm fixing that at the moment, waiting for it to be pushed by the cron job. But yeah, it's fairly, really it's fairly easy. Just go on the GitHub, fork the repo. If you don't know how that works, you can either give me a call. You can contact me or Michael or anybody that Mentor, anybody that's on the GitHub repo. And we can show you even how to make like a basic web page for, I don't know, outlining. Well, for instance, for the FAQ. The FAQ, Raphael is not here anymore, but even if, I don't know if Raphael is a developer, but if you're not a developer, I can show you really how in 20 minutes you can build the FAQ page. And it's really not that difficult. Just reach out, even if you're not a good developer. If you are a developer and somewhat qualified, definitely reach out to us and help us on that. But even if you're not, don't feel stressed about it. We'll be happy to show you how to do even some basic things. Don't ask us for too much though if you're not a developer. But otherwise, really come and join and help us build this website.
Indeed said. Anything else? I think our last thing is Box of Light.
Yeah, so I didn't get an update from Box of Light. Box of Light will be at the Global Summit. So we do have something around this. But other than that, I think they'll do the same amazing job they did last year in Croatia, and will be.
For some people that aren't familiar with the name, this is kind of like the name that's been given to the group that's produced. I don't know how you describe it, Luke, but produced a lot of the media work, especially from the summit last year, but kind of going forward as well.
Yes, this is moving forward as well. So Box of Light will be will be at the Global Summit, producing the images. There are still some questions with the budget as we talked about. So we do need another 20 tickets for the Global Summit to be sure that we'll be able to have Box of Light. But other than that, they're still they're ready to roll. And and by the way, if you haven't seen those videos, you should take a look definitely at all of those videos.
Yeah, exactly. I was just, as I was sharing the summit with a few potential guests the other day, I was rewatching the video from last year's Global Summit, which is on the summit website. If you go to the link at the top that says Croatia 2017, and I encourage everyone to rewatch it. It's just like such a trip to relive that experience and feel connected back in that place in that time, and to see all those familiar faces. It's a spectacularly well produced video with just some extraordinary footage and really beautiful takes. And the work that team does is like really spectacular. It's a big team, with a number of participants, but I think it's really showcases some of the incredible talent that is in our community, to be able to produce something like that.
Great. Sean, can you hear me?
I can.
Nice. So Sean, thanks for joining us. You are here to give an update on the onboarding process. My understanding is correct?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Then, except if I'm misunderstanding, but I think the floor is yours.
Fantastic. So we're not really, I'm not going to run through like a presentation or a full document or anything. We've got an early start on that.
Oh, well, that's terrible. Come on, what are you talking about? we want something professional, half an hour PowerPoint. No, go ahead.
So I've been working with Aaron and a few other members of the board to start thinking about how to set up a more structured and consistent onboarding experience for the global Sandbox community. And the whole idea there is, how do we know that a new member has been added? And then what should we be doing to help welcome them to the family? We're starting fairly small with just an idea of an onboarding drip campaign of a few emails to help introduce bit by bit to both the where we communicate, how we think about it, and some of the people around the Sandbox family. We've got a very rough outline right now, and what would be very helpful is if anyone is interested in getting involved and contributing. We would love to hear more stories about how people think about Sandbox. Looking for some champions to own a couple of the pieces of the email templates of what should be going out and what would you want to tell a new member of the family. And yeah, we're hoping to be able to have all this sort of drafted and the infrastructure in the back end, which is fairly lightweight, prepped and ready for the retreat coming up. And so if you have some time and you're willing to lend a hand, either beta testing them, proofreading them, or drafting and owning some of that creation of content, that would be super helpful if you wanted to reach out to either Aaron or myself, Aaron Frey. I'm not sure if there's more on the call. But that's, I think, a quick update and an overview. Anything else you'd want to add there, Aaron?
No, I think that's great.
Fantastic. And if anyone has questions, I'm more than happy to dive into some more of the details. But at a high level, that's kind of what we're thinking and where we're headed.
Awesome. I would also just add, Sean, I really appreciate you stepping up. Sean is a new member in San Francisco, and I think this is a great example of how you don't have to be someone that's been in Sandbox for 12 years or whatever to kind of find ways to contribute or to have a view on how things should be done and push it forward to the community. So I think whatever stage you are in your membership, and whether you're a new or older member, there's always opportunities to jump in. And I think it's really awesome that as a new member, Sean, you're already finding interested in finding ways to contribute. So I think that's really great. I think that's awesome.
Thanks so much.
Cool. Well, I think that covers most of what we had on our agenda. Is that, Luke, does that sound right?
I do believe that's everything, yes.
So I'll open the floor if anyone has any questions or thoughts. I was just responding to Marcel, but I can also speak to that. Marcel, do we have a place where all of our videos are collected, like a Sandbox YouTube channel? We've collected a bunch of cool videos from other retreats. So the raw footage from Croatia is several terabytes, and I think that's only been shareable like literally via physical hard drive. But in terms of kind of produced videos, I know Jillian has worked on setting up playlists for us, and I think there might be some of that already set up on our YouTube channel. A lot of that just covers like board updates and things like that. I think that there's an awesome opportunity even on our website to kind of like showcase all of the really beautifully, produced videos that have happened, kind of box of light style stuff as well. I don't know that we have like a canonical list of that. I think they're kind of, show up on the Summit website here and there or things like that, or on the homepage of the website. Probably there's like an account that's being served from that, like I think a Vimeo account that will have all of those videos there. But I think there's a good opportunity, maybe. I think it's a good point. How can we do a better job of showcasing all of that?
I think that's a great initiative to start. If anybody would like to volunteer to create a repository for all our videos, I think that's a cool thing to do. Doesn't necessarily require you to be that technical.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just setting up a YouTube playlist or even a page with some, Vimeo embeds, I think would be sufficient and an awesome project.
Yep. So if you were waiting for a sign to start doing something for Sandbox, definitely that's an opportunity.
Amazing. Yeah. So open any questions. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts? I'll also take a look at YouTube, so feel free to drop it in there if you want, or join. I think we have some slots if you want to join the Hangout and present in person as well.
Hi, Michael. This is Arjun Gupta from the Toronto Hub. I had some ideas to share with you. I just reached out on Facebook. Maybe we could do a call sometime next week if that works for you.
Of course. Can do a call, or if you have something you want to say now, we'd be happy to hear it as well.
No, it's probably better offline. It's a bit of a longer conversation. So
all right.
I'll follow up. What's the best way to contact you?
So the email address for the board is board@sandbox.is. So board@sandbox.is. Probably the best way to reach all of us. And otherwise, directly, yeah, Facebook works as well, even though we spend less and less time on Facebook. But yeah, the email address is best.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and free, like, we're always happy to have this conversation. So if other people want to propose something or get into a little more detail about something, that email address will go to all of us. So that's probably the best place to start. But Facebook or whatever else is good too. So let me see, anything else on YouTube? Nothing at the moment. So unless anyone has some final thoughts, I think we can wrap up. I would just sort of close by observing, all the efforts that you've seen here, all the contributions, all these projects. They're all volunteer efforts. They're all people just putting in time and energy as a product of trying to show some love and appreciation to the community.
It does work. Sorry.
Do you want to jump in, Alexandros?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to jump in?
I was trying to get in, so I've actually missed probably the last minute of what you were saying. So I don't know what I was going to be jumping into.
Well, wherever it goes, I trust it'll go to a good place. Be the magic of Sandbox closing statements. Well, wherever it goes, I trust.
I can hear an echo. I don't know where it's coming from. No, I mean I was just wondering, because I joined in late. What Ben had said, or whether he had spoken already about the community council. Hey, Ben.
He did. He relayed your words perfectly.
I mean, that's not the point, to relay my words perfectly.
No.
But well, good. Sorry, I missed that. I was a bit late. No, I mean, I'm just listening. I have nothing to say other than the fact that one of the main things that anyone who is interested in governance that been discussed before we kind of like decided to discuss things later after the global summit is the sort of engagement that people would have in adopting the proposal that went through the process that got voted on, and how do you actually make people engaged with like the governance process actively rather than just it being Daniel and a few other people. And because it's great if we can come up with this like model, but if people are not participating and are not using it, like what is it that we can do to increase participation for that model to work, and or whether that basically poses some other questions with respect to the very nature of Sandbox. So that's the kind of stuff that we would really like insight on. So whoever basically is interested in that aspect of governance, rather than just commenting on the model or making suggestions, but cares more about engagement, we definitely need help there. So that's the only thing I'm thinking I could pitch in, because Ben already spoke, and yeah, that's it basically. Good.
Amazing. Yeah, and for the governance, I agree with you. That's the big question. I mean, I think we've settled what a good model could be. Can be tweaked, but the big question, and that was the kind of the moment that we had back in April, May, is how do we actually engage the community before we bring this entire new set of rules. So that's the path we're on, with Erin's involvement, with trying to make the current bylaws more visible on the website, and hopefully getting a good kickoff after the global summit, to actually get some participation in the day-to-day of governance, and not just the writing of the governance, for sure. All right, Michael, if you want to give some closing words, I think we've heard everybody.
I have just a super short thing.
Go ahead.
My bad for not shutting down my YouTube as I went back on the Hangout. I think I was the one who caused the funny circular delay thingy. I'm just keen to know who's currently, well, unless it's Mentor or someone else, who's working on maintaining the member database, and also issues of sort of culling or suspending inactive members, because it's something, as the former community manager, having thought of that for years and years now, something I would be very curious to get involved with, like sort of seeing how we maintain an up-to-date list of people who are currently active.
So that's perfect, because we have Danny from the Paris Hub and Rafael from Sao Paulo, who are exactly interested in jumping on that. Right now, our member database, I'm going to break a big secret, but I think it's a fairly well-known secret. Our member database is maintained on MailChimp. This is actually where the information comes from on the website, and this is our most accurate member database. I think we will all agree that it's not the best way to maintain a member database, but that's to date our most accurate one. So definitely, I think there is a lot of room for improvement, and Danny is quite interested in working on that, and Rafael as well. And I'm really happy that you will joining as well. You'll be joining as well.
Yeah, and seeing that the bylaws also contain drafts for what members' rights and duties, I think there is also a possibility there to perhaps construct a mechanism that would allow us to say when a member has passed the, well, sort of reached a point where they are no longer supposed to be an active member and can therefore be put somehow on hold, of course, with the right to reactivate their membership at any point, but just so we sort of freeze them or suspend them for the time being.
So I'm quite interested in how you can set that up, and definitely how you can set, and where Danny is really interested in is how to do it kind of low tech, because that can get quite complicated on the technical side, to maintain those member databases. But doing it low tech is going to be, I think, the challenge for Sandbox. But Danny is really good at that, and I'm sure you can figure out how to have a process to actually maintain this on the long term.
Cool. I'll take it back to them then. Thanks.
Yes, and I'll make the intro if you.
it's a broader conversation. And I think it also is connected to the amazing work Netra has done on the life cycle, which is to kind of maybe think about this question a little differently, which is that there's a kind of expected trajectory of Sandboxers' engagement, what that looks like, setting those expectations in year 1, in year 2, etc. There's a pretty well-developed proposal around that. And I think, it remains sort of an open and delicate question about the best ways to approach this, because I think there's also a view in the community that, people are members kind of for life, it's family, whether they contribute or not. And so I think, definitely a big goal of mine personally, and I think the board, is to do a better job of setting expectations around co-creation and involvement, and kind of send the message that this is all, the community we have is only the community that we decide to build together, and we're all peers and in this and share that. And so I think there's a lot of room to think about how these different pieces intersect, the idea that we're kind of family and you're sort of accepted and safe here, but also that you're kind of expected to participate, what that journey looks like, how we better onboard people into contributing and set expectations around that. And yeah, maybe how we maintain membership and think about that as well as part of it. I know several years ago, the Paris Hub as well experimented with kind of moving people to an alumni status. I think Margot Pellin was involved in that. So that might be someone to reach out to as well. And in general, it feels like a sort of unresolved question about the best approach to it, but something that needs attention for sure. Cool. All right. Any other? Danny announced himself on the YouTube, so if anyone wants to reach out, he shared his email address as well.
Michael, we didn't get any reply from Hive Bright, right? Or Bright Hive, whatever.
Yeah, they never wrote us back, but I can follow up again.
How strange.
Yeah, you would think they'd
they'd like customers.
Yeah, exactly. I think, didn't I follow up with them too, or did I mean to?
You followed up once. I wonder whether, you use the right email, right? This is sales. What are they doing?
Very strange. Well, we can find another way to reach out.
Some people are using them, perhaps, like in Sandbox, and they commented on the thread. Perhaps you can just have one of them basically say, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Yeah. I can fill out they have a form and sales funnel and everything. I just hate getting sucked into that, but that might be the next.
Fuckers. Sorry. Oh, that's live. Sorry.
This contact Alexandros had pointed out maybe a really good tech solution for the community to help explore, something more than just a giant messy Facebook group. And so we had reached out at his suggestion. I reached out to kind of see what their pricing model is and maybe be a fit. I think one of the challenges around a lot of these platforms is they charge per user. So it's very difficult for us to make that work and make the math work. But if people are understanding of our situation and our community and maybe that it's a good test case, I think there's an opportunity maybe to make it work or find a way.
Worst case scenario, you can just use what the feature set they have. We can even have some of our friends who are using them in their own companies and kind of see whether that feature set works well and whether that would fit in a community, irrespective of whether we actually use them. Which is copy what they're doing. Given that we could potentially, if it doesn't work for us with them, find some other competitor or build it ourselves, which I definitely don't recommend for many reasons. But I think there's a value even if we don't use them, just as an example,
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate Alexandros. You've always been there, kind of pushing this conversation forward and sharing ideas and other platforms as well. Luke, didn't we also have look at some of this blockchain oriented stuff too? There was
I've been quite interested in Agora, but they released a new version, the V5 of their platform. But I think it's already difficult to get community engagement on a platform that looks like Facebook, But if you add another layer of having to be able to, or having a crypto wallet, basically, even if it's a basic thing like MetaMask, I think it just adds yet another layer of difficulty for people to participate. But who knows? Maybe in the next few years, as crypto becomes more ubiquitous, we'll be able to have an interesting system on blockchain with governance that would be on a blockchain rather than what we use today, which is no, I'm forgetting what we use for voting. Is it Monkey Survey or one of those basic tools? You could actually, where we use email as a way to recognize you as a member. Agora solution like Agora could actually wait a company, not Agora, Aragon could really help us create more complex ways, or not more complex, but more intricate or more detailed ways of doing governance, with voting on special, having more frequent voting, having systems like liquid democracy, where you don't necessarily need a vote, but you can give your vote to another member. So a lot of interesting things, but I don't think in the short term adoption would be easy for most members of our community.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is its own whole conversation, and maybe there's a way we can coordinate that so that, Alexandros, your contributions and some of these other things don't just kind of just sit out there as these mentions that don't develop in anything, but we can bring some other people together to have a more deliberate process about, like, all right, let's see, get a sense of what was really appropriate for the community and how we would achieve that. And I do want to just recognize some voices I think are happy with the status quo, but I think it's worth continuing to explore and maybe experiment with, and maybe there's a way forward where we don't always duplicate everything, but we also experiment and trial new things. And if they seem like they're picking up, that we're able to always move in new directions and grow and change as systems serve us. So I think that's an open conversation.
I mean, one thing I want to add, perhaps before we close, because I don't want to burden people with if they want to go, but I understand the whole chicken egg problem with engagement. We want a new tool. If we produce it, there won't be engagement. We just wasted our time. Whatever. I mean, I get that. I've been in the community long enough to get it. It's just that there seems to be certain features of this community that I'll be specific, so I won't be theoretical. Think of the job boards. I mean, how many times have we seen a flurry of sort of jobs and opportunities that just get lost in the feed, and there is no place where we can aggregate all the jobs that are available for community members from other community members. It just seems like a very obvious use case, and a really shame that there is no organized and nicely ordered job board for people in the community. I mean, it just seems like a very low-hanging fruit, the platform I suggested does have a job board, and it has a bunch of other things that I think a lot of people would want, but it's a separate conversation, as you said. But just as an example, I find it really hard to believe that people would not enjoy a job board in Sandbox in some shape or form, rather than just the Facebook feed, which isn't exactly, I think, the best UI UX kind of to help us with that. So that's what I want to put out there, and please comment on whether you think that that use case is very frequent and Facebook kind of sucks with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I agree. I guess the one thing I would say is I do think there's a cost to having systems that feel dead and unused. I'm not suggesting that would be the case with the job board, but if we had a Sandbox job board and you went there and the last post was from September 2016 or something, I do think that's not ideal either. So I think it's about maybe we can develop some habits around that and maybe start with something narrow. I kind of think what I'm thinking from that example is maybe there's a world in which we say, instead of having a totalistic approach to what our new shiny platform is going to be, that we that we try to solve a specific use case and create a really good environment for that. It's hard to do because obviously it's also useful to have everything kind of in one place. But yeah, I'm open to ideas about that. This is a little bit orthogonal, but I think like one interesting example is how some hubs have done live newsletters. So have just created a shared Google document. Anyone can add to it throughout the month, and then it just goes out as an email to the hub at the end of that process. And, you know, it's an interesting collaborative environment where it reduces the work that individual ambassadors need to do, allows an open process, and, you know, and kind of just uses some basic tools, but in an interesting way. So it's not a whole new platform. It's just Google Docs. Anyone can jump onto it. And to the extent that it's evangelized and hubs develop habits around contributing to it, and ambassadors are saying, hey, like, posted this, it seems to work. So I think there are middle ground options too. And they have their costs, but I'm like really open-minded about what the right approach is. It does, Alexandros, what you're saying does also make me think that it's kind of like a shame that to the extent we have another platform, Slack, it kind of organizes things a little better, but more or less it's sort of like the same feed style approach to information. So we kind of have a similar experience. You know, someone could say, I think we may even have a jobs channel. That's one way to think about it, is like, let's have a jobs channel on Slack. But I think to some extent it suffers from some of the same challenges that Facebook does. And with enough channels, people stop checking them. And I think Slack usage goes up and down over time. So it remains a challenge, I think, to what the right solution is. And I'm like, you know, continually open to whatever. All I would say is like, because this comes up a lot, I think a lot of people propose stuff, and I'm not talking about you, Alexandros, but others have at times. And it's sort of like, listen, no one's stopping anyone, you know? So people can set these things up, but it's kind of like, you know, all right, figure out if you can get people to use it. Like, if you really want people to use X, like, go for it, you know, pitch it to the community. And I think like what is not maybe helpful is like when people propose things and then it's sort of like, this will only work if everyone does it. Now board, now community, kind of like make it happen. It's sort of like, well, that's actually the real work, is not the platform, but evangelizing it, creating cultures around how we use it, creating certain habits. And so that though is open to anyone. So there's always an opportunity for anyone to create a job board, to create a whatever, and just see where it goes.
No, I get that. That's why I said it's a chicken egg thing, because some of these like things actually require network effects to be like, you know, valuable. So if you like, you know, put in the trouble of creating this job board and nobody basically, you know, like it signs up, then it won't have any value. So I think that many of us, including myself, but up to a certain point, because I've taken the trouble of actually creating some stuff in the past, but feel that if it comes from sort of like an official channel, it will have more chances of actually being listened to. But you know, I think that that's not necessarily always true, as we have seen. So especially if we have a sort of like, if initiatives as such are backed by like the you know, the board, or like the ethos of, hey, like, you know, just because it's not like suggested by the board, that doesn't mean that it won't necessarily be championed by the board if it's something that the community essentially needs. So perhaps it's also a matter of ethos, and says something about ourselves that might be a bit uncomfortable if we feel that it has to go to the board for that to happen. So I don't know, you know, it's an open question of sorts.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a mix of things. I do, just to clarify, like I do agree there's a role for the board to play, or any kind of community voices, ambassadors to play in getting out that message. I think a lot of what we've discussed today and what has been ongoing in the past 6 months is like asking the question of, how do we create things per se? Like, what does it mean for this community to come together, to evangelize things, to move things forward? And what are the components of that? I think Aaron and the community engagement team have done a lot about that. How do we get people involved? This town hall is an example of that. So now if we have a habit around town halls, that can be a channel for championing these things. So I see these things all kind of being part of the same puzzle, which is just, as a distributed community of 1,500 people who don't always check every Facebook post or every email and have busy lives, how do we, in a way that reflects the equal voice of every member and the distributed nature of who we are, generate consensus, engagement, and produce things of value to be shared for the community? I don't think we'll have an answer in the next 10 years, but I think every day we can get better at it. So it is the top of the hour, so I think it's maybe an opportunity to wrap. The board is always available at board@sandbox.is, so please reach out at any time. I also want to recognize Jillian, who's done a ton of work, but hasn't been able to join this morning because of a conflict. We're always battling time zones, and it's required us to get on calls at 1 a.m. or 6 a.m. or random weird times. At some point, it was myself in San Francisco, Luke in Central Europe, and Jillian in Korea, which was basically like the worst, like literally the worst possible combination. And we always get feedback as well from the community that wants it in a time that's more accessible to them. So we've tried to move these things around. It's always a challenge. It's the nature of the community. So we continue to try to do our best for that. But I do want to just recognize Jillian and the work that she's done as our official secretary on the board, and getting out the message, documenting things, making sure our board meetings are recorded, things like that. And also her work in the Nomad Hub over the years, now the other hub. And just close on what I was mentioning before, which is like, recognize everything that's been discussed here. It's all voluntary. Our participation here is all voluntary. It's an act of love and co-creation when people give and involve themselves in the community. And we should all expect to find ways to give, even in small ways, to this community if we care about it. It's not a community that's produced for any one of us. When people put in time and effort, whether it's a retreat you went to that you love, the Global Summit, just a dinner that someone put on, like someone had to put a lot of time and energy into that. I just got back from the New York retreat, which was this past weekend, an incredible experience at a summer camp in the Catskills. It was a lot of effort. People really planned that event, and it took a lot of love and energy. And I'm grateful for the community, for Jackie, for Straphos, for some of the others who involved themselves in that. And if you haven't, there are many opportunities to do so. And I would just ask everyone to think about how they can contribute. And it doesn't have to be even to the board. Like, find a way to create a special experience for your hub or members around you. That's always at the core of what it means to be a sandboxer, to experience the community and the network. It's just about those times we spend together. But they don't just happen. They do require someone to at least activate other members and plant a flag and say, we're going to do a potluck. We're going to do a retreat. So I thank everyone for their contributions. I think we've been able to put in a lot of effort in a lot of different directions. And I'm excited for what comes next, especially as perhaps the most Herculean effort of all, the Global Summit approaches us. And the enormous team who's done a ton of effort there, I think is creating a really special, amazing experience, which I'm really excited for.
I want to say something before we close, because I know that the Global Summit is coming, but there's also another thing that's coming that from what I saw in the burner map, there's a lot of sandboxers there. So Burning Man is up the alley, and I know a lot of them are, a lot of sandboxers are going to be there. So just letting people know that like there is a Burning Man like sandbox group that they're going to do some sort of event. So if you guys basically are going to Burning Man, I am going through the sponsorship of like generous friends. If you're going there, do check that event because it's an opportunity for us to get together before the Global Summit.
Yeah, great point. Join us Tuesday evening. There's also going to be a party at some point with a lot of sandboxers, and I think Burning Man's an awesome place to connect. Great point. Cool. With that, I'm going to close our conversation. Thanks, everyone, who participated. We will try to do maybe another one of these and figure out the right time for it. Otherwise, join us at the Global Summit. Join us at Burning Man, our regional retreat. Reach out to us at board@sandbox.is. And look forward to continue to explore what this community is and how to do it right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.